What's going on, guys? This is Jeff with Philippines Through My Eyes. Hey, if this is your first time here, let me encourage you in this. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you'll know when my next video comes out, and you can watch it immediately as you come on this journey as me and my family. We go from living in California to moving to the Philippines full time, and how we're going to be able to do that as a family of four in our 30s. Now, I'm here to help expats, digital nomads, as well as families moving over. So if there's anything you'd like to hear, or maybe something that you have questions on, comment below. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you dislike it, hit the dislike button. That's okay. Just let me know what I can do. Let me know how I can help you out and help you as you transition away. But at this point, here's where we're at. We are in part 3 of my life story. We have already talked about the early years. We had talked about basically the high school years into the military, and that's where we're at. I graduated from the Marine Corps, and then I go off to combat school. Then I go to combat engineer school. And then they give me orders to Okinawa, Japan. I had never been to Japan. I was not really interested in Japanese things. I was not a kid who watched anime. I was not a kid who did any of those things. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was just really clueless. And I was not excited to go there. But here I am. I go to my unit. And to my surprise, about 10 of my unit, they go off or 10 from my training unit, my combat engineer school unit, they go off to one unit. And then about 10 more go off to another unit. 5 more go to another unit. And here I am. I go to a medical battalion. I had not been there. I had never heard of one. I did not know anybody in a medical battalion, but here I was. I didn't know anybody in my unit. So I check in, and I am motivated and excited to just do my thing, to be successful in my career and do it all. I told them that's what I wanted to do, and they were excited for that. But what happened? I check in, I get all my stuff, and I go over to the barracks, and I get my room, and I do all of those things, and that's cool. I am all good there. But now, I don't know anybody. So I quickly become friends with guys, and what happens? Birds of a feather flock together. So those guys that were partiers, that were womanizers, that were all the things I've been my entire life, they become my friends. We go out, and we go out every night. Now, I got a girlfriend back at home. I got a girlfriend back in California, and she was my high school sweetheart and all of those things. But here we are. And I am womanizing, I am drinking, I am fighting, I'm doing it all. And that is basically my life for the next 2.5 years. I destroyed my inner body. I had destroyed my body mentally, or my mind mentally. I destroyed all of it, and I didn't know what I was really doing career-wise anymore. I would say I was successful, but I wasn't really going anywhere. I was just in Groundhog's Day. I was doing the same thing over and over and over again. But here's the unique thing with all of this. As I'm partying, you're still interacting with those around you. And as we'd have, we'd be at the bars, or we'd be out in town, and as I'd be meeting people, I was amazed on how those who were, I would say, non-Western girls, how they treated men in comparison to Western or American women. I just couldn't believe it. They were feminine. They were cooperative. They were encouraging. They were helpful. They didn't try to dominate the man or belittle the man. Now, I had seen that in my unit. I had seen women from Thailand, from Japan, from Okinawa, from South and Central America, girls from Africa, girls from Germany. I had met so many people, and I was amazed with how they treated their boyfriends and how they treated their husbands. Now, I took note of this. This wasn't the life I wanted. I was just having what you would say was fun. I was just wild out there, but that's where I was. That's what I was doing. But I'm taking note, and sure enough, after about 2.5 years of this destructive life, my life changes. At this point, I become a Christian. Now, I love this and I love all about it, but let me help you here. Don't tune out because I became a Christian, okay? Follow through this journey and you'll understand how this correlates as part of my journey. Now, I become a Christian and I stop womanizing, I stop drinking, I stop fighting, I stop destroying my life, and I start to get on track. I'm changing my eating habits. I'm changing the way I behave. I'm changing it all. And that's exciting to me. I'm excited for what's to come. Now, as I'm becoming a Christian, I'm growing in my Christian faith. I don't really know where I'm going in life. I don't know what's the future. And so I began to pray about it, and I began to consider what was the future, and I believed God was calling me to be a pastor. So what I do, I got out of the military after my 4 years, and I go off to training, and I go to college. I train for what I believed was the future. Now, here's kind of the unique thing. Outside of those foreign women who were supportive of their husbands and boyfriends, cooperative, feminine, encouraging, not demasculizing men, not masculine themselves, not belittling. There was only 2 places I had ever seen that, was in foreign women and in the church. Now, many in the church were foreigners married to Americans, but I also saw that in Western women in the church. And I thought it was unique, and I never verbalized this, but I thought it was so unique that girls from church behaved how I and many other men desired, and women from other countries did that. And they were that desirable type of wife, as you would. And so I go off to college, and I'm just amazed that there are women who are this way. Now, my natural instinct, and I never verbalized this, was I resisted American women. I resisted them. And that wasn't because they were bad. It was because my natural instinct was they were going to be a certain way. And so I dated a few girls in college, and they all kind of had a overseas attachment in one way or another. They were obviously in America now, but they were from other countries. And then I met my wife, and my wife was cooperative, supportive, encouraging, feminine. She was a helpmeet, a supportive woman, and a woman who was not trying to be my teammate, but my helpmeet. And to have her role as a wife, she didn't want to be the boss. She wanted to help me and to follow me. And so my wife and I, in my sophomore year, dated for 2 years, and then we got married. My wife had graduated after my sophomore year, her senior year, because she was ahead of me. She came to America just a few years before that, and so basically her whole adult life was here. And we married just a few years after she got here. And so we did that, and then I took a year off of school. And that was just to be supportive financially at a stable point. I was working like 3 jobs and a part-time job, or a side hustle. It was just wild. But my wife was just a young teacher, and so, the money wasn't all there, so I took that on, and I was happy to do so. And we learned how to be married. But, it was funny because as we were married, and of course we were having struggles and everything else, like everybody else, that's just growing pains in our relationship. Those who were married to Western women or American women were having way worse struggles because there wasn't a culture behind it of being supportive and cooperative. Now, I'm just internalizing this. I'm not expressing this out to anybody yet. And I just found this as fascinating. I found this as disturbing as well as discouraging, honestly. But I was so happy, and my wife and I, we were married, and then we had a few kids. But after I graduated, I took a year off. I graduated. My wife was just gave birth to our first daughter, and she was just a few weeks old. And I walk across that stage, and it's just awesome. Life is good. Then we packed up our bags and we traveled around America and Europe, and I began preaching all around the United States and Canada. And it was exciting, it was fun, it was busy, it was exhausting. But I began to see the same thing. Those who were foreign women, even in the church, were often the most supportive, cooperative, feminine women. I'm not saying they were the most attractive. I'm saying their feminine traits, the way they acted, their hospitality, their encouraging words, their ways they behaved was not overly domineering. And it was just an amazing thing. And I'm just storing this away. And so we traveled for about 2 years. Then we moved to Japan. Now, we did not move back to Okinawa, where I was from, where I became a Christian, but we moved to the mainland in southern Japan, in Nagasaki region, and the prefecture of Nagasaki. And we planted a church outside of a base there, and I became a pastor, and life was exciting. We had our second daughter just 2 weeks after I became the pastor of this church, and we were in it, and we were in Japan. We were amongst the locals. None of our neighbors were Americans, really. We lived in a huge high-rise mansion or high-rise apartment if you're in the Philippines. And we were the corner penthouse suite, and that was awesome. And we had a huge balcony, but none of our neighbors, there was maybe 10 Americans in the whole place. It was all Japanese, basically. A few from other countries. I mean, we had old Yakuza guys in there. We had old bank managers. We had old investors, and we had a lot of old wealthy people in there as well. It was just a fun place to live. It was beautiful. It was right next to the ocean, but we lived there amongst the locals. And all of those foreigners who had girlfriends who were other Americans or Western girls just weren't supportive. They would often tear them down. And I just took note of these things. And after about 3 years, some circumstances happened, and my health was declining, and anxiety, depression, I had an autoimmune issue, and I was just going through a time. And it was clear after over 3 years in the church being self-supporting and being in a great position, we left. And we ended up going back to California, where we trained for ministry. And at this point, I came back to America, and I was shocked by America. I was shocked by the culture. I was shocked by the attack on men, on the feminism movement. And because I had removed myself from it, I came back to it, and I had just became so overwhelmed by all of the destruction that feminism, as well as men not being men, caused. And so I began to realize that all of these things that I was internalizing needed to be verbalized. but I didn't really know how to. So I started YouTubing. I started to figure out, where's my mind on this? And at that point, I'm no longer a pastor. I don't have a true identity at this point. I'm trying to figure out what's next in our lives. I'm trying to get my health together. I'm having panic attacks. I am just clueless. I don't know how to lead my family because emotionally I'm just not there. And all of these things, as I'm watching these videos, I realize my wife is supportive. My wife is encouraging. My wife is helpful. She's followed me all over the place. And of course, I've failed at times. Of course, I've hurt her. I've hurt our family, because we all fall short and we all fail at times, and we got to be apologetic. But on top of that, I just saw how so many people with Western women couldn't do those things. Family members, friends, their wives, their girlfriends, family members of mine, they couldn't believe that my family would uproot and leave and then come back and do all this other stuff, because they would never follow a man. And so as I'm searching and I'm trying to understand this, I come across something called passport bros. And that's this exciting thing. I didn't realize I was a passport bro until years after that. I was already a passport bro, but I didn't know what it was, and maybe it wasn't created yet. But this is when I realized the illumination hit. I had became a passport bro by being overseas. I saw it. I was amazed by it. I was excited by it, and I wanted to help others in this way. Now, I didn't know what that meant for me, but I realized that there was a lot of people who were struggling in America to find relationships, and they didn't know where to go. And I would often say, have you thought about going overseas? And most of them would say, no. And then I would ask them, what did they want in a woman and where they could find that. Now, I'm not an advocate of just the Philippines, but I believe in the passport bro movement because of it. But why is my family moving there? Now that you've heard story number 3, this illumination and how I became a college student, or a Marine, then a college student, or a Christian, then a college student, then a pastor, and now an illumination of a passport bro who's married and excited about the future of passport bros. Where does this leave me? This leaves me in a position on where I'm going to raise my family, where I'm going to continue to do that. Now, we are in a great place in California. We have a great church. We have a great friend base. But what's the future hold? And how does that work with us? Now, I want to tell you that in video number 4, because I don't want to prolong this or filibuster you in this. But follow along and find out where we're going and how that's going to work in our lives and how that can work in your lives. But this is Jeff with Philippines Through My Eyes. This is part number 3 of my life story. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and comment below. Let me know what you would like to hear, or if this story resonates with you in any way. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.